down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, friends, whoever you are, airwaves, whatever. Got a special super treat for you. I got an interview. I was thinking I haven't interviewed anyone in a long time. No one's really impressed me as much as this interviewer that I'm about to interview right now. My man, Eddy Mac. We're talking 10 years or more. The great thing is I push this so much. You've got to connect with people at events, real estate, Mr. Landlord Conference, your local club. You will meet a lifelong friend. You are about to listen to a real deal lifelong friend. And I'm not saying that lightly, but man, when I first met Eddy, he just threw it up on me and I needed something and he would send me drives, like USB drives full of content to help my business. If I had a question about health and fitness, he would do whatever it took and vice versa. When he had a question about financing, whatever. That's the power of relationships. And let me just introduce this guy to you. Eddy Mac has been doing it for a long time. We're going to get into the details, but super impressive, hasn't pivoted. He's also a school teacher, which is even more bizarre because when you look at this dude, he's not an average person. And why would he sacrifice everything to be a teacher? Because he contributes. And he's also by night a real estate successful investor, and then gets into, I remember I'm getting out and I'm getting into assisted living and I just borrowed $6 million. Or is that how much you borrowed?
It was 1 million.
1 million. Okay. I think I had a bigger goal for you, but you're like, yeah, I just borrowed. It was some crazy amount of money, and you built something from the ground up, right? Dirt. You had to learn how to permits, how to build something, walls, contractors, and then lease these things out. And you even sent me the plans. I don't know if you remember this, but you sent me these. I think I remember. It was so expensive for you to buy in on this thing to get mentored. And I'm like, this dude, 30 G's at the next level. And that's when my life changed too. I bought into a thing. So I don't want to rob the success. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be on here because probably your first 200 to 250 I listen to religiously.
All right.
It's so powerful. And I love your intro. And I listened to one of yours recently. And you still have the same intro about putting down the hammer and picking up the pencil. And if I were to get a tattoo, that might be one of them that's staying on there just because it's so true. And my life evolved to that with the help.
Not doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talked to an investor. I try to help these young guys and they're still going to Lowe's and picking up material. And, I'm like, I have to say this over and over again. What is your time? What's your time worth? I mean, and I think a lot of people do not know how to value your time. And especially it's a difficulty for you as a student, as a teacher, because you're doing way more than you're underpaid. So you can't even equate to the value because one child, my wife told me this the other day, a football coach, there's this dude in my life as a football coach. I'm like, this dude, that's all he talks about. That's he every photo on Facebook is football. I'm like, this dude's got to get a life. Like, I was like, dude, this is enough of this. My wife said this most powerful thing to me. She said, that guy is making an impact in so many lives that will change the trajectory of a child's life. And, we don't really take that consideration. We underpay these teachers and you're changing child's lives. I mean, you just your physique alone motivated me when I was 100 pounds overweight and you were beating my ass up. You're like, hey man, enough of that. And, go get tested.
Health and wealth.
Yeah. Health and wealth. All right. So how'd you get into this game? I know you have another great thing about you is that you have a partnership, or you did. Now, are you solo now?
I'm solo now. The partnership and, the
single families.
Yeah. The point you brought up about getting out the seminars and everything, you couldn't have said it any better because of seminars, that's where I'm at. Anybody could be a hard worker and everything. You could be smart. Now you have the internet. Back when we started, we didn't have the internet like there is now. But, you could be hard working and smart. It doesn't matter. Just networking, learning from people, picking people's brains. That's the most powerful tool out there right now.
That's right. So how'd you get into the game? How old were you? Like, let's give us a synopsis. Where were you born?
Yeah, Tinley Park, I grew up. So born and raised.
Chicago?
Yeah, south suburbs of Chicago. Don't confuse it with the south side or anything. It's not like
Hood?
that. South suburbs of Chicago.
Okay.
And right after college, I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'm like, yeah, I want to be rich. This sounds awesome. So I bought my first house, did an 80-20 loan, so I had no money. And, bought one house a year for 4 years. And then the economy crashed. And right before it crashed, it kind of was similar to how it is now, where, well, there was inventory, but the prices were outrageous. And I just kept on thinking to myself, like, man, I can't buy anything. There's nothing out there for me to make money on. And you just have to wait and prepare yourself instead of just sitting there. I was out hanging out, like helping contractors for free, working for them to learn how to do stuff because I had nothing to do, especially over the summer being a teacher. So the economy.
What made you become a teacher?
I was first into computer science. That was my major in college. And then as I was sitting at the computer falling asleep, like this just bored me. And then I played college football. So then my football coaches were also into the physical education department in college. So I'm like, you know what? I think it would be a PE teacher because I'm in a gym all day working out. I could be in the gym and getting paid for it and working out.
So is that what you teach now?
Yeah, I do. I do physical education. So it's
all right. So we're there's a conflict here, right? You got Rich Dad Poor Dad. You got the educated school system.
Yeah.
I don't know any teachers that are rich. Like I don't know one teacher that's rich. Like this is impossible mathematically. Yeah. And then you have the investor or that is wealthy. When did you make that switch? Like, when did you turn the burners on? You just randomly got the book and read it and said, okay, or?
Yeah, I randomly got the book, read it. And then I bought one house, like I said, one house a year for the first 4 years. Then the crash came. I was established with a small bank. So they were still loaning out money when no one else was getting out loans. And I'd buy 3 houses a year. I would go to school, after school, go to the house, work on it till 1, 2 in the morning, sleep in my car or sleep in the house, and then go back to school, shower there, put some eye drops in and a lot of coffee. And then I'm ready to roll. And that was back in the day where it was like, yeah, I did all the work myself. I know how to do everything. And it's like, now I just want to punch myself in the face for that. But, I learned a lot. So it's all that matters. And then after I had about 12 houses, my life was a mess. I didn't know anybody who owned more than one house or a rental property. I had no friends, really. And then I randomly heard about a Mr. Landlord convention in Nashville. And I'm like, I'm going to go to this. And people are like, you're going to go pay a couple $100, fly somewhere and learn? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know. My life sucks right now, and I have nothing else to lose. And that was a game changer. That was really a game changer. The people I met, 10, 20, 100, 200 houses, hearing them, it was powerful. So
you were inspired.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And my life, it changed, but it was a little too late then because I owned 12 houses. I had $750,000 in loans and my houses were only worth about 500. And
you were upside down?
Oh yeah. Because the economy wasn't.
I didn't know this.
2012, 2013, the values of my properties weren't increasing.
Okay.
So then, I had to pull the trigger. I had to file a Chapter 7. And you get brought up with middle-class values and everything. So the people around me oh, man, you're broke. I'm like, well, Donald Trump did it. What did they do? Look at him.
And this is awesome. So were you self-defeating? Were you upset?
No, just because I always had, I never really had an end goal. I just want money. That's all I want. I want to be wealthy. I want to provide.
I want to take trips.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to take trips, pay for my kids' college, and just, be around too. And now I'm around more than ever, which is awesome. But, I never had the end goal, but I just knew if I do this, I will have money one day. There's no doubt about it. So it's I didn't feel defeated. I didn't have to give up all my properties. I lost 1 or 2 of them out of the 12. And I kept on moving forward. So
you hung to your education that you knew that this worked, right? I mean, basically that's what kept you going is like, so it's interesting that you're an educated person in the educational world that's so antiquated, but you hung on to the truth of being the knowledge of as a real estate investor that this must work. So you're going to continue on to do it.
Yeah.
So you fought through. I remember this. I remember when you went through those two. I remember when you went through the bankruptcy. I remember vividly. But I remember that you were just laid back about it. I mean, it's just what it is. It wasn't like it was. A lot of people take that personal. Right? They like, oh, I'm a loser because I lost. And you probably, I didn't have those intimate. I remember you were very busy and trying to make it work. So then after you took your lickings on that deal, where'd you go from there?
Oh, I got another Mr. Landlord story. So this was 2013 or 14, probably 14. No, 2013. My wife's about to have a baby, our first kid. And she was doing 2 weeks. And I hear about this Mr. Landlord convention in Indianapolis. And I'm like, hey, babe, I'm going to be gone this weekend. She's like, I'm about to have a kid. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm only 3 hours away. She's like, you're really going to leave? I'm like, I have to. I'm like, this would only benefit me somehow. I don't know. And, I get to the Indianapolis one. I meet some guys from Chicago, and I tell them where I'm investing, and they're like, "Oh man, there's so many deals out there." I'm like, "Yeah, but you have to be buying all these houses." I'm like, I had to slow down a little bit. I had just got a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and so then he's like, "Well, do you want to buy some more?" And I'm like me and you? He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, all right, and that was our buddy Joe Mueller.
Yeah, Joe's a player, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I made us a lot of money. It was awesome, and I still it's fulfilling on my part. Every time we make some money, just because he believed in me, and
that's intense. I'm still trying to figure Joe out. A lot of his personality is mine. Kind of forward, aggressive in some degrees. But he also does what he says. So, I mean, that's kind of rare in society. So how many units did you go from there? You went down 12, went down 1 or 2?
25 to 30 with Joe.
But you guys were buying foreclosures, right?
Okay. Yeah, we were, but
because he was an expert at that time, or he still is.
Specialty, but his specialty had nothing to do with our area with the foreclosure stuff.
He stayed in Chicago, right? Yeah. Was he from? Okay. And you were from there, but you still taught there when you met him. So that's weird. So you went to Indianapolis to meet some guy from your kind of your state.
Yeah, just randomly met him, and he knew
from Illinois.
He knew the numbers in my area. He knew what my rents and everything, and he just wants doors.
Awesome. So basically, you were the front man doing the boots on the ground.
He's the
sugar daddy. I love it. And then So then I know I've been following you that whole time. So we've been boys. We did Full Throttle. We did events. You helped me with nutrition. We're growing back and forth. Then one day you decide, I'm going to get an assisted living. Now this is way out of my comfort zone, and I'm just now following behind you because I'm building now. I'm building a tiny home park. I'm building a development in my market. I just bought 2 acres, so I'm way out of my comfort zone. I would never have done this. Build a damn building. And my mentor was like, why build? He taught me why build when someone already depreciated it out. They already did all the hard work. You just make it better and make more money and not take the liability. And I was like, I've always followed that advice. And so I'm, but I remember this is like 3 years ago, right?
Yeah. It took a long time.
3 years ago, because we had Full Throttle, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I'm going to join this group, and I'm going to take classes, and you're like, you got to do this. And I was like, I was so scared.
It's awesome.
And you did it.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. So what made that decision? You got 30 something units going, you're managing.
Yeah. 30 something units. My life's a mess, low income. I'm killing it with my cash flow. I net probably $900 a month per house. And so I'm killing it with that. My life's a mess. I'm dealing with tenants. I'm doing, I'm not fixing up stuff anymore, but I'm managing stuff. And so I'm, you can't, no one will ever care about something as much as you, but you have to be able to let stuff go. And it's like, I wouldn't be able to let that go because, you fall off a little bit with your low income rentals, then everything goes south real fast. But my worst nightmare was like, what's next for me? Another 30 low income rentals? I have 60.
Glamorous.
I still have the same problems, and there's really no happy ending to that. So that was my worst fear, is just being the same. And you can make all the money, but it's a lot of work. And I was at Mr. Landlord again, and Gene Garino was there, and he was at, how we have the roundtable discussions,
right?
And everybody's like, "Oh man, this Gene Garino, that's residential assisted living. You can make a lot of money." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." Yeah. So then I heard him speak Saturday, the next day, and I'm like, "Whoa, you can do that with a single family home and make that much money?"
Now, what you're talking about is converting them into to assisted living. So, ladies and gentlemen, he's talking about taking a big house, cutting it up, or framing it in, and making individual units under a big house, and you rent those out to elderly people. Assisted living, correct? That was the business model? So you dove in on that business model.
Yep.
How many houses did you convert?
I built. I didn't want to.
So you didn't convert them. So you went.
I didn't want to.
So this is a resident. So let me get this clear. This is a residential house that you're building, but the internal side of it is made up as assisted living.
There's really not much of a difference. There's safety things like a rail in the hallway. Bathroom has grab bars. I have a sprinkler system.
But you're maximizing the space by rooms, right? So it's like, how many rooms is under one roof? 16. The maximum amount of people you can have in a single family home is 16. So how many separate rooms do you have? 16 separate rooms? Mm-hmm. What's the square footage?
8,300.
8,300. So how big is the lot?
0.7 acres.
So 3/4 of an acre. You drop this 8,000 square foot monster that takes a lot of money to build on a big risk, hoping people will rent out a room.
Yeah.
Right? Am I correct? Yep. What the hell? How in the world did you tell yourself that this is going to work? This is huge. I remember this guy speaking. He was taking apartment buildings. He was taking all kinds of stuff and converting them really quickly. I was like, this is an ingenious idea. It makes sense. I know it works. There's got to be more to this, Eddie. There's got to be like, you just said, this makes sense. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, it was awesome because, like I said, what's my happy ending right now with my single family stuff? It's like I have to get a different business. Get in, get out, and this was my get out. When I text my wife, hates all my stuff that I do with the single family stuff, but she appreciates it because she understands what it brought us and everything.
Right.
When I texted her when Gene was speaking, I'm like, what do you think about turning a home into a assisted living home where you take care of the elderly? I'm ready for her to tell me like, get lost, dude, or something. But she's like, that sounds awesome. And I'm like, what? Because all she hears about is tenants, toilets, court, more houses.
Yeah, eviction.
Yeah. So
they didn't pay $5,000 in damage. I'm screwed again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
so you pulled the trigger. Yeah. Now I know it took you a while to get going, right? What was the hurdles? You had to pay a lot of money to join the club, right? It's like a training, and people don't look at it like this. I look at it as school. Like, you're going to be willing to pay for college. It's like second degree. So you paid for a second degree, which is reasonable, was like 30 G's, right? Something like that.
Yeah. And
so you bought it. I remember people don't know that I actually have done the same thing. So I wouldn't be in apartments right now if it wasn't for that. So, but I got all my money back.
But sometimes that's the best money you could spend at the same time because maybe you don't belong doing it.
Yes.
And you got into it and you're like, man, I hate this. Like, why did I buy this $2 million apartment building? This sucks.
Right. Exactly. So you got into the course. You were learning. I saw your blueprints. I was just so impressed with the material and what. So what was the first thing that happened? You went to class. How long was school?
Well, first, what they get you on is a 3-day boot camp, and they give you like the introduction. Obviously, the baby boomer generation, but the benefits of residential assisted living. Like, you're treated as a person, not as a big number in these big box places.
Right.
And, and like people, the caregivers, they know you, they know what you like and everything. So it's real family orientated and everything. And, this is why I love it for every investor is because, most investors, they take pride in what they do. And, there are slumlords, there are people who don't care, but, that's very few that I believe in. If your name's on it, you want the best, you want it to live.
Right.
And it's the same thing about assisted living. Yeah, you want to provide the best care for people because your name's on it. And if you look at the benefits of what you can potentially make from it, and when someone like a 90-year-old person's living in your room and they move out, if they pass on, or go to a higher skill level or something, and they move out, what's the worst they can do to your room?
Oh, true.
Kick
There's
over.
no damage.
I don't care. Like I've had worse done to me.
That's right. I have one of those right now, actually, where I reconsidered, someone asked me about Section 8 the other day, and I was like, man, so, okay, what was the hurdles, the money to build this thing, to convince the city that this is a great opportunity? Because now you're in a residential location, right? There's residential homes next door that are 2,000 square foot or 4,000. I don't know what neighborhood you're in, but I'm assuming you're in a residential neighborhood. How'd you get this approved?
So the barrier that I had in Indiana where I built this, I'm the first residential assisted living home. So they don't know anything about this. In other states like Arizona, Texas, Florida, they're on every block. So everybody knows about residential assisted living. So in the beginning, I didn't know how to argue with people, but like I would email the zoning and I would say, hey, I want to build a residential assisted living home. But they would say, oh, you can't put that many people in a home, or you can't have more than 3 unrelated family members living in a house. And I didn't know how to diffuse that at the time because I was so new to it and everything. And seniors are a protected class. So you could say something like, well, do you have a certain spot in your town where you allow seniors to go to or something? You have to rephrase it like that, like where they're being racist against seniors, I guess you can say. And
it's called redlining, technically.
Yeah, they're entitled to the same environment than everybody else.
That's right.
And then they'll say something, you can't have a home business in your house. And it's like, so you have all these little hurdles that I learned how to overcome eventually. My mistake I made was I went in the towns right away that I wanted to go to. What I should have done is like go to towns that I have no business being in to like practice, to get that, get used to getting shot down and then coming back with your comebacks. So I went to the path of least resistance. The one town was like, yeah, it's a great idea. And it's just like, you just got to search for stuff. Just because somebody tells you no doesn't mean you're done.
Ooh, that's a good quote. When someone says no, let me write that down. When someone says no, you're not done.
So
I love it.
I would go to the next town or whatever. And I finally it's that person's appetite for the elderly. So the town that I had, the lady that I emailed, like, oh yeah, my mom, she's having all these problems. And so she had a soft spot for seniors. So that was the town I built in. And then just with financing, 4 other banks told me no. And through my residential assisted living academy, they provide you with banks that
Friendly.
Yeah, they're friendly to senior living. And his fee was like 30 or 40,000 on top of everything. But at the same time, if everybody tells you no, that 30 or 40,000, you have no choice. And
so it's kind of high stakes.
Yeah,
because it's a new venture per se, new industry, new sector.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then my builder on it, I showed him the application for my banker, and it was like they wanted like blood samples and semen samples, but he's like, no, I'm not filling this out. And then he's like, come to my bank. So I went to his bank, and his banker had a soft spot for seniors because his grandma lived with him. So
cool.
they love the business model and everything.
So out of this whole thing, you got a new bank.
Yeah.
That it wasn't 30,000.
Right. Exactly. So you just got to keep searching around for that stuff, and just no one knows what it is. It's like I'm not a numbers guy. I just kind of know what makes money and everything and what's good. Like the other people.
That's me.
The other people in the residential assisted living stuff that have one that's up and going right now, he compares it to one of his 75 unit apartment buildings, I think,
It's
where
cash flow.
yeah, the cash flow, the return on investment and everything. Because I don't know, he does apartment syndications. I don't know anything about that stuff, but he bought a 10-bedroom for $2 million that was up and going, and it still cash flows, and he still thinks it's a good deal. And
So so it's almost like an Airbnb for old people.
average person, I guess, stays 2 to 4 years.
So the lease is 2 to 4 years.
Well, lease is month to month.
Okay, give us some numbers. Like, what does it cost per unit, and is it furnished?
Not furnished. I have a couple sample rooms that people can.
Well, why don't you furnish them?
They typically bring their own stuff.
They just want their own jazz.
Yeah,
but you can furnish them. If not.
Yeah.
Okay.
I say, of course, but it's going to cost you maybe $1,500.
Well, what's the monthly rent?
Right now, because we're new, it should be more, but it's $4,300 a month.
4,000.
43 to 5,000 a month
Per person.
per person.
And what amenities do they get for $4,500?
Everything.
Do they get a chef?
We cook for them.
You do?
Our caregivers cook for them.
So you have caregivers.
Yeah.
What about the liability? Like, is there special insurance?
Yeah, just typical liability insurance for that, something like that. I think that cost me. I think Gene says the general rule is $1 per person per month or per day. But, and it varies state to state, but my liability insurance just for that is like $6,000 for the year.
Okay. So you got how many units in this 8,300 square foot place?
16 bedrooms. I maxed it out.
16, you said?
Yeah.
So you got 16 potential. These numbers are very large numbers. So you have obviously a lot of expenses. You have a caregiver. What else is do they stay in the home? Do they live in the home?
No, we don't have the live-in caregiver.
So is there someone monitoring it 24 hours a day?
Yeah. We have, right now I have 11 out of 16. I have 2 caregivers working. When we're full, I will have 3 during the day and maybe 1 or 2 at night. Or one for sure, one's always at night, but maybe a second one. And you just have to go with what the situation is, because you might have a lot of people that have a lot of needs at nighttime or whatever. So,
this is incredible.
Yeah.
This is like all of a sudden, like as a coach, I'm like, now you're hiring caregivers. I mean, now you're qualifying people and asking the right questions. And you have cameras up. I'm assuming you have cameras up. And do you provide activities like, hey, we're having Halloween party, and this is so fun. It's a lot of work. I mean, it sounds intense. So right now how many do you have in there now? 10, you said? 11 paid. So you're averaging $40,000 a month, plus your mortgage payment, plus how about the city? How they clamp down on you? Any issues there after you built? And you're the largest structure probably in that neighborhood.
I'm an asset to the community.
That's how you point it. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, how about your landscaping? Does it look lush outside?
Decent. It's nice. I sent you the link to the site and everything.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, my bad. I did not see that. Do you want to put this link in the comments? I mean, people are going to want to know to get a hold of you. I think you can mentor somebody. Maybe you can get your 30,000 back.
I now work for the Residential Assisted Living Academy, so I now mentor people through them.
Cool. So what's your goals with this? Is this how many structures do you have? Is this your first one?
My first one. I'm looking for the second one. It is so hard for me right now to find a lot because I need 0.7 acres at least with city utilities.
Now, what about parking?
Parking, I have 8 spots.
Can I say this name out here?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
All right. So he just texted me, messaged me, 2 hearts. .care. Let's go there. 2 hearts. So, okay. What have you done right? What have you done wrong? What's home runs?
Moving forward. Just keep going no matter what, I've had so many roadblocks with that, and it's such a long process, but you just gotta pick something and start doing it. It's like there are so many other people out there that are smarter than me, that have more money than me, that instead of like going forward with stuff, they're going to analyze stuff, pick people's brains.
Just make a decision and go. Yeah, I think analysis paralysis. I mean, the website looks amazing. So this is small enough where you have control, but it's not overly powerful. I love the look. I love the design.
If you go to photos, Janelle's giving a tour.
The photo gallery. So your wife's involved.
Yeah, we have a manager, and this is the awesome thing about this model that we have is like everybody's paid for, and you're like with what you take home. Like if you're good at what you do, if you're efficient, you should net 30% of what you take in. And that's having a manager that you pay well, caregivers that you pay. So she's in charge of like the care, the medication stuff and we do have a manager that's awesome.
Was it hard I see folks in wheelchairs. I see wheelchairs everywhere. What is it? I love the stadium seats. What's going on there? My man's got a party going on.
Yeah.
The kitchen looks amazing with the subway tile. I like your colors. Love the granite. It's so classy. That is a big freaking refrigerator. That must have been like 10 G's.
Well, I'm a value shopper. So the commercial fridges were $3,000 a piece. I have 3 refrigerators.
Good job.
But if you trim them out, like if you look at the nice cabinets above them, you can get cheap refrigerators. So mine were $1,000 a piece.
I love your pergola in the back.
Yeah.
That's legit. That is legit. It's classy. So is it hard to find tenants? How do you market? My fear would be, it's a gorgeous building. The brick looks great. Everything looks slam dunk. You could duplicate this and scale. Now you know exactly what you're doing. I guess the hardest thing is getting people there. And $5,000 a month is not your low income person.
Yeah. So
how do they afford it? How does that work?
They have the money when you're that old, I guess. A lot of people do. And, when I told you how much I'm charging, it should be more. But being
6 to 8. I've seen 6, 8. I've seen 7. I've seen 7,000 a month. I mean, I'm curious in Oklahoma City. There's a bougie one. There's like 2-story ones. There's really big, massive ones.
So here's the deal with those places. Mine's all inclusive, like all you can eat. When you go to the other places, like, oh, do you need help getting up in the morning? Okay.
$50.
Do you want your laundry done? Well, I'm 90 years old. I haven't done. Oh, okay, that's an extra $50.
I see. The devil's in the details, the money.
So it's like the base price is, $4,000 with them, then you're $55,000 to $6,000. Mine's all inclusive. And the most important part is they're a person. These large facilities, one caregiver is in charge of 15 or 20 people. So when you need help going to the bathroom, you ring your buzzer or whatever, and you're going to wait 20 minutes and probably go to the bathroom in your pants by the time they get to you. So, but here you're a person. Like we get to everybody's needs. It's really different.
I see you're on a main drag, right? Is it on Clark and Lucas Parkway? That was another scenario.
Yeah, I'm on the far edge of town, so kind of away from some stuff.
And you're not far from a development. Looks relatively new, and you're close to a church. Well, all these, and then you have, and you're like super smart location. You got this hair place. So they can bebop around if they wanted to. There's Pizza Hut.
We have our own hair salon in there.
Wow.
They don't need to leave.
Dude, man, we ran over time here. I know you have a life. Dude, super impressed. Okay, so everybody go to twohearts.care. That's TWOHEARTS.care. If you really have any interest in this, hey, if you want to do one in Oklahoma, I got the money. That's not the problem. And we got land. We got land everywhere. I just wouldn't know where to begin, like what competition. You know, there's one type of company here that has a bad rep, you know.
Perfect. You build right next door to it. They did all the market research that knows that the elderly are in this area. They probably spent $1 million on their marketing or their research.
That's right. Cool. All right. So what else can you tell us? What would you give advice? Not in this space, but you started out single family, had to hit a hurdle. Then you got into, REOs, all that stuff. And then now you're this residential assisted living guru now.
One day.
Of sorts. And you're a teacher. You've arrived, right? You got to get this thing full. Are you going to unload your single families? What's your goals here?
I had to unload a lot of the single families because I needed to raise $420,000 for the assisted living.
Down.
Yeah, and I don't want anything to do with it. I'm still doing it now just because market's good and I need extra cash right now for that, just for whatever. And I don't want anything to do with it though. I want to build a couple of these and live life.
Are you going to stay in Indiana?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because the taxes. Because I remember, ladies and gentlemen, this guy Eddy, super impressive. He lived in Chicago and figured it out. If I just moved to Indiana, you save like $4,000 a year. Yeah. Something crazy just in property taxes of your own residence. Because the Chicago taxes or the Illinois taxes, same thing, are just outrageous. And so you teach in Chicago still?
Yeah, I teach in one of the roughest suburbs of Chicago.
And then you live in Indiana. How far is your commute?
20 minutes, 25.
Oh, okay. All right. What's one thing that you wish someone would have told you?
Nothing. I just show up to places, go to meet people. My biggest problem is not going to meetups earlier on in life. I was 5 years into the game, or probably 6, 7 years into the game before I met somebody else that had the same goals as me. So, and just be willing to travel too. So
in my world, my simplistic world, you have arrived. Is there anything bigger than this? Do you want them in every state? Do you want, is there a number or just more freedom?
Freedom. Supposedly the magical number of these to have is 3. That's like the synergistic number where you're able to pull people and
a regional manager.
Yeah.
Right.
And I just want a free lifestyle. I want to wake up, do some work, go work out in the middle of the day. I'm getting into MMA stuff. I'm not interested in lifting weights. You could be a strong dude and everything. That's cool, but you get your ass kicked by someone way littler than you that knows what to do.
Yeah.
So
I know it's funny. Okay. So then why are you still a teacher?
When I'm ready to open up my door to my second place, I'm throwing the towel in.
It is a propensity for pain being a teacher, especially in a low income urban where I grew up. People get spit on. I don't know how. It's a special person.
Yeah, you just show them they're crazier than they are. So
you are.
Yeah.
Oh, it takes a special person, man. I truly appreciate your time, Eddy. Folks, he's a giver. Help him if you have a piece of land in Indiana, or you have money to lend, or you want a private land or JV, or learn this trade that maybe a couple of years after I get my project done. Hey, if you ever want to come to Oklahoma, I'm in. Let me be the one.
Your wife's a nurse, right?
Huh?
Your wife was a nurse.
Yes, she was a radiation therapist. She worked for the hospital. She would zap you right if you had cancer. She would zap you and give you proton therapy or nuclear or whatever. And then I retired her, man, 8 years ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Real estate is extremely powerful.
Yeah.
You've arrived. I don't know why you haven't quit. That's the only, I think you like pain. I think you like to fight. I think you are making a difference. And that's probably why you're so giving. I don't think we can ever repay you back, man.
No.
But I'm glad that we're still friends, over 10 years later.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't got nothing else to say, man. You're very humbling. And I'm so thankful that you were willing to be interviewed. A lot of people are just either just too big, too cool, or they think they're weak and they can't do it. You know, this is what life is. You have to ask people for help, and you have to get out there and be exposed to, like, I'm going to commercial real estate meetings. It's not easy. I don't know anyone in the room. I'm the savvy landlord. Like, I'm some dude. But like over in that world, I'm like, who are you? You know, oh, you're only, you owe 10 million. Oh, 30. I'm talking to people that are like 50 million, 30 million in assets. And they're just like, yeah, like the banks I talk to now are like, yeah, 3 million is the minimum. I mean, it's just fascinating coming from a dream of just owning a home and being in a room full of everyone is a player. There is, I wish, the regular RIAs, the same people in the same RIA, and they still haven't bought a house yet. I think there should be a RIA. Like, that's why I love Ohio RIA. It's like, the deal maker room. I can't go. My wife booked a trip. I've been texting. Vina just called me today, and I'm like, she wants me to speak. And I was like, I can't. I try to speak there, and my wife booked the trip for her friends. But next year, I'm coming big. I got like a bunch of new content. But I mean, I wish there was a RIA that, hey, you've done a few deals and you really want to learn. This is the group. And this is why I love our group, our private group, where we get together and it's authentic.
Let me tell you though, like our little group or whatever, like that, what enabled me to do what I did, because, I can tell you I spent so many hours on the phone with Ed O'Toole.
Yep. You remind me of Ed.
Yeah. He helped me out tremendously. Andy Lee Summer.
Yep. Also, Amin marketing.
Yeah, he helped me out a ton. And so it's like my Mr. Landlord group of friends, like that's kind of what put me in my spot. And it just required me to show up and keep moving forward.
Ed's a punk. He won't be on the radio. He's like Mr. Incognito.
Oh,
but he's so like 5 names. I love he calls voicemail. This is Dave. I'm like, dude, that's not your name. Like, but I wouldn't be where I am when I bought my first apartment building. Ed flew down and served me for the weekend. When you said that you were sleeping in the units, that's Ed O'Toole. Like, I don't know if you know that about him, but that dude would sleep in the units and work all day. And because he had 2 markets, he was 6 hours away from each other. I mean, I think that's just a level of commitment of success. And he's reached his success. I wish I could get him on the radio. He's like, no. Come on. Anyway, all right, man, we can go all day, but I appreciate you. Again, reach out to my homie, twohearts.care. 2 Hearts, just TWOHEARTS. We're not selling nothing. .care. We're not doing anything and just living life, being a real estate investor. If you could help him, that'd be great. If he could help you, that'd be great. He may charge you a fee. I hope you do, because I do now. But it would be worth your time. I appreciate everything.
Yep. Thank you, man.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter @LandlordBook and always be buying assets.